there it was. This is the brain that changed everything.
In the afterlife, specialists would put Einstein's brain to the test. What did they discover? Is Einstein's brain truly unique? Two scientists set out to solve the great brain mystery and whether it can reveal secrets of genius. Does intelligence reside in 1¼ kilos of fatty tissue, or is it something mysterious, incorporeal, something we can never finally quantify or understand?
I think it's a good probability that this is the last time you'll see Einstein's brain.
Go on. I don't know, just somehow I feel as though we shouldn't be doing this, but...
What will they find on their journey? Can Einstein's brain solve the riddle of Einstein's genius? During his life, Einstein changed our concepts of space and time forever. He harnessed energy, mass, and the speed of light in the most famous equation of all time. E equals mc squared. What made Einstein's brain so exceptional? Dr. Jim Al-Khalili, like Einstein, is a physicist and is obsessed by the work of his hero. Brain specialist Dr. Mark Lithgow hunts for the secrets of creativity inside the human mind.
My name is Dr. Jim Al-Khalili. I believe Einstein's genius came from his imagination, and no man or machine can measure that. Am I right?
My name is Dr. Mark Lithgow, and I believe that Einstein's genius comes from nerve cells which can be analysed. We can find out what made Einstein a genius. Am I right? Now, in Einstein's day, they believed that the brain was like a skeleton. It had natural limits, but that view is changing today. Instead, it is now understood that more and more parts of the brain behave like a muscle. They can expand with use. Then, if all of our brains are like muscles, could it be that we all have the ability to become Einsteins?
Professor Marion Diamond was a rebel. Established brain science had only focused on nerves and ignored the other cells in the brain, the glial cells. Glial cells are like tiny electricians, insulating and fixing neurons in their correct place, speeding up impulses, and repairing the brain's complex circuitry. Working with rats, Diamond discovered how important glial cells actually are. If she gave rats mental exercise with toys and companions, their glial cells multiplied massively. Rats left alone in bare cages had no such change. So glial cells must be important in mental development. Rats with active brains have more glial cells. But is the same true in humans? Marion Diamond needed samples from a really active human brain, a genius brain. On a student notice board, she saw an article announcing the rediscovery of Einstein's brain. She hunted down Thomas Harvey. She needed that brain. Dr. Harvey sent samples of Einstein's priceless brain through the post.
It arrived, believe it or not.
No.
In a mayonnaise jar.
That's great. The Kraft Miracle Whip mayonnaise jar.
Yes, there were 4 pieces. They were sugar cube sized, and they were floating in a solution.
Mark is about to have his first glimpse of Einstein's brain.
We were looking for the nerve cells and the supporting glial cells.
And the glial cells are the other cells in the brain.
Right. There are only 2 kinds of cells to make up a brain.
Right.
And in our experimental work, we show more glial cells per neuron when our rats are exposed to enriched environments.
Was that the same in Einstein's brain?
He had more glial cells. These are the glial cells. The little round ones there.
That's fantastic.
And these are the nerve cells. You can see their nucleus They're just beautifully preserved after such a long period of time.
That's incredible. The first time that you saw that, after all the studies that you'd done, and you looked at it and you saw that the ratio was increased of glial to neurons, that must have been a revelation. You must have been jumping up and down in the lab.
And when they could say that, yes, we had statistically more glial cells per neuron in one area here in the so-called left parietal area, that was amazing.
Extra glial cells were needed to cope with the extra demand, possibly helping make the mass area in the brain more than 15% wider than normal. All these effects united to give Einstein a mind unlike any other, perhaps the greatest mind in history. In the future, could we preserve a genius like Einstein in something better than a jar? Imagine a brave new world where a genius brain could be copied onto silicon using microscopic robots called nanobots. This is the vision of futurologist Ray Kurzweil.
I think by the 2020s, late 2020s, we will have completely reverse engineered the brain and understand how all the different regions work. It'll take us longer to be able to scan an entire brain and capture every detail of someone's personality. The blood vessels in the brain go everywhere, and so if we send billions of nanobots through the capillaries of the brain, they could scan everything in the brain of a specific person in very high resolution. Then you could create a machine, a non-biological entity that would simulate a specific person's brain, and that simulation will act just like that person. And if you then talk to that simulation, you'd be convinced that it was that person.
I'm a little worried about whether I'm talking to the real Ray or he's at home having a cup of tea.
Well, I worry about that too. Once we understand the basic principles of operation of how the brain works, we can take a brain-like system and expose it to a complicated problem, and the system can learn on its own. It can actually do it thousands, maybe eventually millions of times faster than a real human brain, and actually develop skills that are far greater than a human being is able to.
So a future Einstein could be put on a computer, literally, a ghost in the machine.